Welcome. Today let's talk about journals in Palworld. So there isn't really a storyline to this game, but as you run around you can find these journals and it tells you stories about a couple different people that have been to the island. So let's start with the Castaway journal and we'll start with day XX. So this world harbors a secret. I was convinced of this when I began examining the globe's geographical features for my research towards the end of last year. Looking over the island of the world, I noticed something strange. It felt like a certain area was empty, so to speak. I knew there should have been something there. It was unbelievable to me how no one could have noticed such an obvious absence in this location. With a few months of preparation, I was successfully able to guess the location of an island based on my hypothesis. With conviction in my heart, I chartered a boat and set out for the island alone. Now let's move on to day 0. Strangely enough, the island is shrouded in a thick fog that makes discerning it from the sea impossible. Attempting to steer away from the fog, I turned rudder, only to be enveloped by an even deeper fog. Just then, someone attacked me. I have no idea where the attack came from, but my boat was all but destroyed. With nothing but wreckage left, I was still somehow able to find it to the coast. This island exists in no database. It is an island hidden from the world. Why is it being hidden? Why isn't it on any of my maps? I'm certain this is all intentional. Was that attack on my vessel part of this attempt at a complete concealment? There are more mysteries than I can count, but I'm resolved to discover all of this island's secrets. Day 1-1. I found a strange device on the shore. It appears to be some kind of electrical contraption, but its odd design looks like no modern technology I've ever seen. The device is capable of recording images and displaying information about what is shown in them. I have decided to take photographs of the island using this device and use them along with this journal to document what I find. Day 1-2. Soon after stepping foot on the island, I discovered a living creature nearby. Not only that, but every living thing I've found here is like nothing I've ever seen. On the other hand, normal creatures you might find on any other island seem to be almost entirely absent. It seems this island has quite a unique ecosystem. I now know that its absence on the map is not the only special feature of this place. I've decided to use the device I found to record the various species I encounter. Day 2. As I explored around on foot, I found a sphere that emits a peculiar blue light. I threw it without much thought, and the creature it landed near transformed into what seemed to be light, as though the sphere had absorbed it. Unbelievably, when I tried throwing the same sphere again, the creature reappeared from the light and stared at me with what seems like an amicable expression. As I began to create a shelter to protect me from the elements, the creature astonishingly began to help me. How useful! Wanting to deepen my connection with this living thing, I decided to name its kind Pals. To match, I christened this island Palpagos Island. Day 3. I discovered what appears to be an ancient ruin while exploring the island. Did humans once live here? Finding some kind of mural on the walls, I deciphered the symbols and found that it was none other than instructions on how to make that strange sphere from before. Using palladium, the name I have given to the blue ore found throughout the island, as a catalyst, it is possible to transform mere wood and stone into one of those spheres. I must record this method of production on my device. There happened to be a weakened pal near me, unable to move. Rolling a sphere towards it, I was able to capture another pal. Now, day 4-5 is just question marks, because it's not yet in the game, so we assume. There are people out there that are stating that they have it from doing data mining, but it's not yet confirmed, so we're just going to skip that one. Day 6. There's something odd that's bothered me since I arrived here. Far off in the distance, I can see what looks like an enormous tree, big enough to be the so-called world tree, spoken about in so many myths. Still, it's so large that no amount of fog would be enough to obscure it from view from outside the island. The only hypothesis I can come up with is that something other than the fog enveloping this island prevents it from being seen by the outside world. In other words, some kind of mechanism must be preventing it from being seen from the outside. It seems likely that the mysterious powers that pals have had something to do with them. Day 8. I caught sight of a pal riding on the back of a deer like Pal. Thinking it was a great opportunity to try something new, I tried attaching a saddle to a similar pal and riding it. It went better than expected. The pal was quite easy to ride. This will surely expand the area I can explore around the island. Day 10. Today I decided to take my pals on a bit of an excursion. A tower-like object visible in the distance had piqued my curiosity. After walking a while, I encountered another human. When I tried to talk to them, however, they didn't say a word and just pointed a gun at me. Since they're on this island, it would make sense to consider them a remnant of the ancient civilization, but their attire suggests they're likely from the same era as I am. Are they? Just like me? From the outside? Or has this ancient civilization developed here of its own accord? I was in a rough spot, but my sheep pal protected me, allowing me to escape unscathed. I immediately returned to my base of operations and found that all my pals were safe. There's still so much to learn about this island. Day 11. I had no choice but to run away yesterday, but I can't stop thinking about that tower. Just as I decided to fashion some gear to try approaching it again, I heard the sound of gunfire behind me. That person from yesterday is after me. I couldn't sit by and do nothing. I mobilized all my pals for a counterattack. Before I knew it, they got carried away and killed the assailant. It's not like I killed anyone directly. There's no one to blame here. Day 12-1. As I approached the tower for the second time, I once again heard the sound of gunfire. It seems they are groups that have banded together and are now fighting for territory. I believe they're mostly using pals to fight this battle. This place isn't safe. I need to be stealthy if I'm to wander around here. Day 12-2. While taking a breather, I tried to figure out who those people were again, but to no avail. If they're from the outside like I am, it would seem strange that such a large group would not have information about leaving the island. I can only come to the conclusion that the remnants of the ancient civilization here, fighting for survival. I can't fathom why or how they have guns, but it seems only natural that they must have created their weapons themselves. That, or it's possible they're imitating things that have drifted onto shore for whatever reason. Now we move on to day 12-3. After a long journey, I finally managed to arrive at the tower. I am nearly certain it's a relic from the ancient civilization. However, I have no guesses as to why it was built. Still, I can feel that there's an energy flowing through the place, similar to that of palladium ore. When I touched an inscribed stone slab, I found myself transported to some strange place. What I found there was an enormous pal and a human in control of it. I ran away in terror, and before I knew it, I found myself returned near the tower. Day 13. I've worked out that the ancients must have lived in luxury alongside pals, yet due to some unknown reason, that way of life was lost. Perhaps it was a massive natural disaster, or maybe a struggle broke out for scarce pals and resources. Then again, maybe it has something to do with the teleportation I experienced in the tower. Supposing that some power is responsible for that spatial teleportation, perhaps similar to how the pals fields work, what would happen if that power were utilized in other ways? A power so great that humans could not control it. Perhaps that is what destroyed the civilization on this land. Day 15. I have tried to avoid thinking about it, but the foodstuffs I brought along are all but gone, and I'm sick and tired of eating berries. I did happen to find a pal eating the flesh of another pal. It looked so delicious. I can't say I was proud to think as much, but sometimes sacrifices are necessary. I captured a wild bird pal, skinned it, and fried it up for dinner. It was so delicious. The sensation of eating meat was enough to make tears run down my face. Whether in killing fellow men or pals, this island has a way of making one forget about their ethics. Day 18. I decided to distance myself from the tower and have begun to explore other areas. There are places in each area that appear to be vast caverns. They appear to have traces of human involvement, and ore can be found throughout them. Could someone have used pals to dig those holes? I can't help but feel overwhelmed by all the mysteries I'm unable to solve, but my pals have come with me no matter where I go. As long as I have food to give them, that's it. Day 22. What on earth was that huge pal? I was simply walking along an open field when I encountered a massive pal the likes of which I'd never seen before. I fled in surprise, but if I were to befriend a pal like that, I'd have nothing to fear on this island. The existence of a pal of that size is sure to prove that pals don't follow the laws of nature as we understand them. Perhaps the pal's source of energy doesn't come from food or photosynthesis alone, but some other kind of energy. The power I encountered in that tower may have also been utilizing the same energy source, but through human hands. Day 25. After living alongside pals for some time now, I've come to realize they don't breed like normal animals. All it takes is the presence of a male and a female pair. With some time, an egg simply appears. Furthermore, it seems that the bodies of the dead pals simply vanish. Where do pals come from and where do they go? These mysteries have no end in sight. Day 29. Utilizing an inscription I found in some ruins, I managed to compress the size of pal spheres even further. Developing a method for remotely moving pals, I can now also teleport the spheres themselves. This had made organizing and managing my pals much easier. It isn't hard to imagine that the ancients must have also moved and managed a large number of pals simultaneously. Day 30. It's been a month since I arrived on Palpagos Island. I've grown quite used to living here. Lately, I've set pals to work making me weapons and preparing equipment. A few pals seem to have taken an interest in guns, so I've devised weapon designs for their use. Some are quite adept at handling the weapons. I'm sure they'll be able to move more reliably in the coming battles. Day 32. I made a mistake. On what was supposed to be a short excursion, a group of dangerous nocturnal pals attacked me, and I was injured. Why are the pals who live on this island so aggressive? I can't help but feel their attacks are well beyond the ferocity necessary for self-preservation. Humans, for example, will engage in bloody war at the behest of a leader. Similarly, the pals living here seem like they are fighting for the very island itself. I suspect they harbor some deep instinctual drive to protect this place. Day 38. This is the final entry for the Castaway journals. Having now journeyed far from where I first drifted ashore, I have come across a massive statue in the shape of a pal. I am nearly certain it is a legacy of the ancient civilization, but why would humans build a statue such as this? Everything I've found thus far has suggested that pals lived alongside these ancients as equals, but constructing a monument like this must mean some are also objects of worship. Perhaps there are certain pals out there that have a special significance, both to people and to pals. Now, in the world, you can also find Zoe Rain's diary entries. So we're going to start with diary entry number 1. I don't have a family. My father disappeared a long time ago, and I've never seen my mother's face. The only ones who raised me are those guys in Griswold. That's why I know I have no choice but to survive in this tiny little world. These guys all chase around pals with their guns. They capture the ones they hurt and sell them to these other weird guys. In return, they get food. They even share it with me. That's why I don't have to be hungry. I don't think any of those guys really care about me. They just keep me alive because I'm the daughter of one of their bosses. I still believe that, even if I'm a boss now too. Diary entry number 2. Griswold was one of the pals they were going to sell, but she looked so lonely in her cage. She was just like me and father, I thought. I was still little back then, so I couldn't control myself. I waited until everybody was sleeping and opened Griswold's cage, and ran off far away with her. I shared half a slice of my breakfast toast with her, but we were both hungry by evening and went back to the base. Of course, all the guys were super angry. They threw me in a cage with Griswold, and I thought we were going to get taken away, but Griswold protected me. Not even their guns or bats could beat me. How did she get captured in the first place if she's that strong? I bet she didn't even try to escape, the big dummy. I gave Griswold a command, and she called down a huge bolt of lightning that wiped out all the guys. They didn't wake up until the next morning. Ever since then, I've been with Griswold. Number 3. There's a group that opposes ours stationed a little ways away from where we live. They don't like the way we sell pals and use weapons. Our group sneers at them and calls them the Free Pal Alliance. We're always fighting with them for no reason at all. If I stop and think about it, I bet they're not bad people if they love pals that much. I asked one of the guys who's been around a long time about it, but he said it was complicated. Apparently our group has been around for a long time, and we've always been fighting with those FPA guys. He said he doesn't know the real reason behind it, but we've been fighting so long that there's no hope of ever getting along. Entry number 4. Sometimes I wonder if there's anything beyond the sea. The only thing I can see far off in the distance is that huge tree. I've never heard anyone talk about what's beyond that place. Apparently some brave guy from long ago went to see the outside world, but he never came back. I have heard about people coming from beyond the sea, though. I don't know what those kinds of people do, but they say they use tools different from our own. That's why I know there must be something beyond the sea. A whole bunch of islands, a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of things. It sounds scary, but I'd like to try going sometime. Entry number 5. I've started to wonder, why am I guarding this big tower again? I always thought it was obvious since father also used to do this, but now that I think about it, I have no idea why. From what I've heard about it, they say there's a legend passed down on this island. They said this tower is somehow related to that legend and that it has some big, great power. What kind of power, I wonder? Even if that's true, why does this power have to be protected? Anyway, even though I don't really know why, I'm always here protecting this tower. There are other towers around the island, and they say people like me guard them all. That's it for Zoe Rain's diary. Now we can move on to Lily Everhart's diary. This is entry number 1. Pals, such strange creatures. These noble beings have upheld our civilization since ancient times. They not only boast impressive intellect, reflexes, and adaptability, but are adorable to look at as well. How could anyone not come to love them? Humans are savage animals, with an insatiable appetite for the proliferation of their own kind. They subjugate other species and enslave them. They engage in pointless strife, consume flesh for no reason, and develop beyond their needs. When one takes into account their hideous appearance, how could anyone not detest them? Humans capture pals and use them. If a pal is confined to a so-called pal sphere, they become obedient to their master. What abhorrent tools they become! One can only say this is the greatest stain in the history of our civilization. Pals and humans were originally meant to live alongside each other in mutual support, not a relationship between master and servant, but one of equals, our harmonious coexistence, if you will. Eating a pal for food is akin to blasphemy against God. Diary entry number 2. I will recount the day I met Leileen. I remember that the fog was so thick that day that I could scarcely see in front of my very eyes. I was simply walking along the berry fields, as I am fond of doing, when I heard the clamorous voices of those abhorrent poachers. When I looked to where I could hear the sound of their filthy screams, I saw them throwing spears at a pal resembling a vivid lily flower. She was so beautiful and elegant. At that moment, I knew what I must do. I pierced their dirty hearts through the back and destroyed their scattered spears. They shot at me a few times, but it was a trivial matter. I could not touch such a beautiful flower with my trembling, blood-stained hands. Instead, I returned immediately to my base. When I arrived, I found the queen of the lilies there, awaiting me. When she touched my arm, my wounds were healed, and the fatigue began to fade away. From that day forward, I decided to become companions with my queen. She is the only flower that blooms in this sad, dark world. Journal entry number 3. Won't you join the Free Pal Alliance? The Free Pal Alliance is a long-standing organization that works to protect pals. We have lived together with pals since antiquity, and each of us has a deep love for the wondrous creatures. We have 5 traditional commandments. Number 1, thou must not eat pals. Number 2, thou must not overwork pals. Number 3, thou must not abuse pals. Number 4, thou must not use pals for experience. And number 5, thou must risk thy life to protect pals. Wouldn't you like to join us and protect the pals you love? Your life as service of protecting pals is a small price to pay. The flesh and blood of humans exist only for the glory of pals. And finally, Lily Everhart's diary entry number 4. On some distant shore off the island, there exists an islet where certain pals live. Not a single one of their kind, strange as it may seem, resides on the main island. Perhaps they can only flourish in a particular kind of environment, or their natural predators roam the island. Then again, perhaps they are simply unable to cross the sea. I do not know the reason they exist there, but I am certain that they must be protected. Just imagine those poachers setting up a hideout there and ruining their way of life is enough to make my blood seethe. With every visitor from the outside to their islands, the pals' numbers dwindle. At this rate, they may even go extinct. I would like nothing more for us to protect them, but we have our hands full guarding this forest. As loath as I am to ask them for help, I have petitioned the PIDF to assist with their protection. In return, we must pay them a hefty sum, but it is worth it if it means protecting the lives of precious pals. It seems my subordinates have found a way to generate revenue. I will set aside those funds for this endeavor. It seems odd that they would be able to gather such large sums only through raids on the poachers' camps, though. And that's it for Lily's diaries. Now we're on to Marcus Dryden's diaries, and this is number 1. What a joke. All the idiots do around here is snort up stims. It's a real dump. There's no point in even trying to control it. PIDF doesn't belong in a place like this. The guys I arrested today couldn't even pay the fine. Guess it's to be expected if they spend all their money getting a fix. Bet they can't even imagine the money they pay ends up lining my pockets. I make a profit when they buy, and then I make more when I arrest them for possession. And I even get back my product to sell again when I confiscate what they have. It's a grand scheme. They're idiots and I'm a genius. This is just their punishment for being fools. Understand? This island is just my little sandbox to play on. For all I care, they can live their little sad lives without ever knowing I'm the one supplying their fix and the one controlling it. If I let them get carried away, they'll just go off demanding rights that ain't fit for garbage like them. Marcus diary entry number 2. Life out here is not all peace and quiet. The damn wind blows, and somehow somebody's cutting into my profits. Just today, some punk little syndicate clown who thinks he's smart tried selling stims without my permission. My partner, Phalaris, is always there to deal with dumb bottom feeders like that. Just like me, he's having fun playing in this little sandbox. Or maybe he just likes eating that white stuff. Huh. Don't look at me like that. Ain't no food today, boy. Go eat some of that white sand. Marcus is a little weird. Diary entry number 3. Another peaceful day on the island. More proof we're having fun playing house, right, Phalaris? Don't worry, I get it. You've got the same eyes as me. You're having fun playing house too, yeah? Or maybe you're just waiting for me to fall over dead. You sure do like eating that white stuff, huh? Maybe the day'll come when I'm just leftovers stuck to your wings. Maybe not. Either way, let's just watch each other's backs until then, right, partner? So he was different. On to Victor Ashford's diary. This is entry number 1. On interspecies pal experiments. Results. Failure. Attempted to combine various 4-legged and winged pals, but no successful patterns emerged. Some combinations succeeded in creating bodies, but these deteriorated in seconds, and all were disposed of. Impressions. Reconsideration of chemicals for response control is necessary. Furthermore, the expansion of species to inspect is also likely necessary. Will reconsider extracting chemicals from deer, don't know that word, anyway, it's the deer, antlers to create a compound. Storage temperatures also require reconsideration. Note: acquire one ice pal for cooling purposes. Re-examination of base DNA information for the species under consideration is desirable. Analysis of PAL DNA information is pressing but requires new equipment. However, the current equipment was coincidentally acquired from outside. There are limits to how far it can be improved. This will require self-made blueprints to create equipment from scratch. Victor's Diary number 2. On the distillation and administration of PALs to the same species. Results: success. A certain species of PAL was dissolved in liquid and concentrated via distillation. Subsequently, the concentrated liquid was administered to PAL of the same species. As expected, the result yielded an enhancement in the abilities of the administered PAL. Impressions. This experiment, initiated as an alternative approach towards generating powerful PALs, surprisingly yielded favorable outcomes. Theories postulating that PALs of a certain species contain the nutrients most necessary for the same type of PAL seem valid. This experiment has accordingly resulted in the enhancement of the test PAL's abilities. However, there remains a slight doubt regarding whether the observed enhancement surpasses the anticipated values. Perhaps it is not merely a matter of basic nutrients, but rather we must question whether PALs inherently possess a distinct energy source essential for their own existence. Further investigation is required. Victor's Diary entry number 3. On interspecies PAL experiments 2. Results: success. Only one specimen emerged, an artificially created new species with 4 legs and wings. It was promptly transferred to the cultivation equipment and has since shown promising progress, steadily maturing. Attempts to reproduce the same process failed. Thus, this miraculous success is attributed to some unknown external factor. Impressions. The success of the experiment is genuinely gratifying. The new species, named Shadowbeak, will continue to be observed closely for further developments. However, the lack of reproducibility of the procedure possesses a significant challenge. Henceforth, the plan is to proceed with the experiment, incorporating slight adjustments based on this procedure. Addendum: the disappearance of Alex, who served as a lab assistant, is concerning. Uh-oh. So that was Victor. And our last here is Alex himself. Alex Travers' diary entry number 1, and there's only one of them. Every day I'm snoring, no rivals to get me going. I don't care about they type, ain't nobody gonna beat my hype. I'm looking for a fight, a real tough brother from another mother. Throwing in the towel ain't gonna cut it. It's gotta be a knockout, a throwdown brawlout, so fast your eyes'll bleed. When we ready for battle, you better believe the shock's gonna rock your socks off. Saw it off, my lightning is tougher than high kings. When it hits the ring, ain't nobody gonna be singing for you, playa. You ready for this hype? You read the words, so get ready for the fight. Anyway, so those are all the diaries and journals that you can find in Palworld. And I will throw up, at the end of this video, I'm going to put up a map that shows where all of them are. And in the description below, I will put in all the coordinates for each one so that you can collect them all. And that's it for today. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment. If you do find journal number 4 or 5, throw it down in the comments because I would love to have it for this collection. And that's it. Have a good one.